Talk Live. You can take control of the airwaves and dial in toll-free. Bring up anything you want. 800-259-9231. That's the SACL CAI toll-free line. You can join us on our website at freetalklive.com, and we give you the features on the site there completely free. So enjoy those on us. Again, freetalklive.com. You get to control the content. You create the stuff there that's on the front page by submitting different things you find online that you consider interesting, and then other listeners vote as to which ones they like the best. The most liked will make it to the front page and the top of the website at freetalklive.com. This week, actually, Mark, we've been promoting during our podcast, I believe, and I'm not sure where else, but the brand new television program by Adam Kokesh.
It's actually on all the radio ads. It's all over.
Oh, good to know. Well, because it deserves to be. I think Adam's done a pretty great job with what he's been up to here. AdamVersusTheMan.com, with the verses being VS. So AdamVSTheMan.com is his website. And Adam is with us here on the phones tonight. Good evening, sir.
Hey, thank you so much for having me on, guys, and thanks for all the help in getting the show launched on the right foot. It's been really amazing so far.
Well, I have to say that I was really pleasantly surprised to hear this news because, well, number one, it's just unusual to see a liberty-minded person on television, period. Obviously, we're starting to see more of it with Andrew Napolitano's show becoming more popular, right. And of course, John Stossel has been on the air for a long time. But it's interesting to see somebody just kind of breaking into the world of television without, I guess, necessarily having a big TV resume, do you?
None to speak of whatsoever, actually. And before I got this job, I was doing radio in Albuquerque for 6 months, pretty much for free. And it's kind of a once-in-a-lifetime promotion to go from local radio to national television. But I feel like I've got the right help. I've got the right people around me doing the job, and I've got the right support from the network. RT's been great with everything so far. So they've also given me full editorial control. In fact, it's explicitly there in my contract with them. So, and if there's any violation of that, you'll know. If they ever tell me you got to say this or you can't say that, we're going to make sure you know. But we called for close air support. We got a TV show instead. What can I say?
Hey, I think it's great, and the fact that you have full editorial control is extraordinarily important, and because if you have to compromise your message, you can't get you won't be able to emotionally get behind the show, and it'll fail. So
exactly,
that's what's important.
Hey, Adam, this is JJ. One thing I wanted to say is the doing it 5 days a week. That's a big task, right there.
It's a huge commitment. I mean, JJ, you know this. You're putting together a TV show here in Keene, New Hampshire, and you're just looking at doing once a week, and that's a lot on your plate right now.
That's right. But I'm sure you have a team of people.
And I'm still learning that. And if you go to the YouTube channel that RT set up specifically for our show, Adam versus the Man RT, we just had our 4th episode ever airing. Well, it's actually airing as we speak. It's kind of cool. We're live to tape from 6 to 6:30, and if I jam home, I can watch it on my TV. But
that's funny.
We've got those episodes up there right now, and you can tell just even day to day this first week, we're getting smoother. We're getting better at the process. Sure. I'm getting a lot more comfortable in front of the camera with someone giving me cues in my ear and someone pointing at cameras and moving around in the studio in front of me. But it's a full production. We've got a 15-person production crew at RT, and
the show looks great.
Everybody who's involved with the production.
I took the time to watch the first episode, and the show, the production quality looks great. It's right up there with all the other so-called talking heads shows that you might see on CNN or Fox or MSNBC, except it's hosted by Adam Kokesh, who is, from what I can tell, I mean, there was actually up on your website, AdamVersusTheMan.com, there's a little promo video with you being interviewed by one of the RT anchors about your show, and you called yourself a conservative, or at least I thought I heard you call yourself a conservative, but for a conservative to open up his show with an interview with Stefan Molyneux, it doesn't seem like conservatism. You seem more like a voluntarist to me.
Well, I'm certainly a voluntarist. We're using conservative in the John Birch Society sense in their definition of the left-right spectrum, and I think really conservatives in getting in touch with their roots in America, it was Ronald Reagan who said libertarianism is the heart of conservatism. So trying to broaden the appeal and broaden the audience, that's part of the challenge of getting into the media. It's not, you can't just get all your extreme positions. And, I'd love nothing more than to talk to Stefan every day for 30 minutes. But, to reach out to a broader audience, you can't do that. You have to present information in a way that's relevant and valuable and that brings people into the message instead of, here's the message and we're going to hit you over the head with it. So that's a challenge that I face in doing the show. I know you guys are very keen on that, too, because you've done an incredible job with Free Talk Live getting to the kind of national distribution that you're at today. But on television, I'm still getting comfortable with the format, learning what we're capable of, and we have so much technological support out of the studios here as well in terms of composing our shows, putting together a rundown, and making sure that it all hangs together in a kind of professional presentation that the average person can understand. And the way I've been targeting or thinking about the show is for my little brothers and my little sister. I'm the oldest of 5, Adam, Andrew, Alex, Alden, and Audrey. So I dedicated the show to them in our first episode. And really, the show is supposed to be for people who are my age and younger. I'm 29 years old. I'm on the older edge of the millennial generation, those of us who grew up with the Internet, born in 1982 or younger, specifically 1982 to 2000. And, as much as we've seen what our parents' generation called the revolution of the Internet when it changed the way that we do when we step way back, we realized are relatively superficial things like commerce and communication, just being able to do email and buy things online and navigation, logistics, stuff like that. But the real revolution of the Internet is yet to come. It's going to come when the kids who have smartphones on it for their 10th birthdays are in charge. And the kids that have the Internet hardwired in their brains have no tolerance for the kind of problems that only exist for lack of information. When they turn 18 in America today, they're facing a personal share of the national debt of over $45,000, and they're going, wait a second, we're still fighting wars over natural resources, and I'm still more likely to get killed by a cop than by a terrorist? Something's seriously wrong with this picture, and when we're in charge, things are going to be different. So one of the things that I feel like I'm doing with the show is preparing the younger generation, making sure that they have a representation in the mainstream dialogue, but also someone who's going to get them the kind of information and connect them to current events in a way that's empowering and positive. Because it's not just about saying, hey, if you don't vote, the country's going to go to hell, but saying, look, what our generation is going to do over the next 50 years, we are going to fulfill the promise of the Internet, which is to make sure that society realizes all the things we think we need the force and coercion of government for, we can find ways to do them peacefully through voluntary cooperation. And that is the promise of the Internet that my generation is going to bring to the world in the next 50 years. And we have an opportunity like no generation in human history before us to shape the destiny of the species for millennia.
So, maybe all this stuff will happen with the Internet. Maybe it's just a fad. Let's talk about a media form that's really going to that's relevant and prescient to our lives, which is cable news network. What do you spend your day doing, Adam? I mean, what's your day look like? What time do you start it? How much time do you spend in prep? What's it like?
Man, you got to ask me that question like a month from now when I've actually got that figured out. As for now, it's more a matter of scrambling, but I really am getting the hang of the writing process for myself, tailoring my day so that my creative process is able to mesh with what everybody around me needs to produce the show and what all the people at the network need to make sure that we have the production elements in place before we go to tape the show. But, we get up, we have, I do my prep and try to have most of the writing done by 11 when we have our 11:30 when we have our first editorial production conference call with our line producer and the editor at the network. And it's just to go over what we're doing and to see what we can do to develop the show to be more visually rich. Because, that's something that I don't think about a whole lot, and I don't have a real good sense of what works on TV and what doesn't, but we're getting there.
Certainly something that it's going to be a learning curve, no doubt about it. Adam, hang on. Yeah. We're going to come back with more here in a moment at 800-259-9231. His show kicking off this past week. It's in its first week over on RT, formerly known as Russia Today. I want to talk more about RT and their involvement in this and the allegations that they're government-funded. We'll come back and address that and your calls as well. If you've got a question for Adam, it's Free Talk Live. DVD, books, music, instruments, periodicals, computers, software, electronics, photo, cell phones, office products, home and garden, bed and bath, furniture, kitchen, pet supplies, automotive, hardware, apparel, shoes, jewelry, grocery, healthcare, sports and outdoors, toys, games, used, and more. It's a department store at your fingertips. Shop.freetalklive.com. Get all your shopping done, get a great deal, and a portion of your purchase goes to benefit Free Talk Live when you enter Amazon via shop.freetalklive.com. This is Free Talk Live. You can dial in toll-free and bring up whatever's on your mind at 800-259-9231. Though, if you've got a question for Adam Kokesh, your calls will be given priority at the moment because he is with us on the phones here tonight talking about his brand new program, Adam versus the Man, which is premiering on RT this week at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. We'll tell you more about him and his show here in a moment.
How does a cruise to Bermuda sound? How about a cruise to Bermuda with Stefan Molyneux, Wes Bertrand of Complete Liberty, and me? This cruise isn't just a convention on the water. It's an unconference where the event is what you want to make of it. There'll certainly be some speeches and a debate, but the boat has an ice skating rink, rock climbing wall, miniature golf, and a whole bunch more to do. There'll also be some shore excursions. The ship leaves Bayonne, New Jersey in November, but you need to reserve your berth now. We've secured some more rooms, but I can't promise you anything after April the 17th. Rooms are as low as about $600, double occupancy. Go to cruise.freetalklive.com. Do it today, cruise.freetalklive.com.
All right, Adam Kokesh is with us from AdamVersusTheMan.com, his website, and he's kicked off a brand new television show this week, which unfortunately is in live competition with Free Talk Live. That's my only complaint about the show, Adam, but otherwise I think that you've done a pretty amazing job here right out the gate.
Well, thanks, Owen, and we really appreciate all the support that you guys have given us, but you know what? You got to get me on a Saturday when you're broadcasting Albuquerque out of my old radio station.
Actually, we're not. They pulled us off the air around the same time they pulled you off. We were on. We were on KIVA Kiva in Albuquerque, New Mexico on Saturdays, and they took our show live. And you were on during, I think it was weeknights. And I guess
Friday weeknights 9 to 11 for Kiva.
Yeah, the program director called me up and he said that they're taking us off, and it's not because of anything we did. It's because they wanted to change the focus of the radio station to be more positive. And I was like, wait a minute, Free Talk Live is a really positive show. I mean, we're talking about freedom and how to get there from here without violence.
Yeah. Yeah, don't take that personally. I think the people in charge there have an idea of positive that they confuse with non-confrontational.
Yeah. Well, whatever. It's Free Talk Live's not right for everybody, so that's just how it is. Yep. And so now you've taken your show, which your radio show was called Adam versus the Man. You've refashioned it, repurposed it into a television program. But real quick, before I want to talk about RT and who they are. But first of all, tell my listeners who may not be aware of you, Adam, who is Adam Kokesh? I mean, what's your history?
Well, I was in the Marines. I guess I started when I was 17. I enlisted out of Santa Fe, New Mexico, and I went reserve so I could go to college. Then in 2004, volunteered to go to Iraq, and I served in Fallujah as a sergeant on the Marine Corps Civil Affairs team. And I was always a libertarian before that, but what made the difference for me from my service was making a connection from being, I guess you would say, an intellectual libertarian, someone who can look at the issues and go, well, duh, this makes sense, less government works better, to a philosophical libertarian who understands that voluntarism as a way of promoting freedom, as a way of, a philosophy of organizing society, ensuring that all human interactions are free of violence, force, and coercion, and understanding the morality, the significance of that. I realized coming back from Iraq that when we talk about politics, it's not just academic. It's really matters of life and death and morality for everyday people in everyday situations. When you understand the nature of government, as George Washington did when he said, it is not eloquence, it is not reason, it is force, like fire, a dangerous servant and a fearful master. So that was really influential for me, and then I got home and wasn't politically active for a while, dealt with post-traumatic stress disorder, went back to school, finished my degree, and moved to D.C. to get a master's at George Washington University, and that was when I just came across the website, Iraq Veterans Against the War, and was like, hey, crap, that's me, and signed up and was very active with them. Unfortunately, learned that really the anti-war movement as it was had been inflated financially by people that were really just backers of the Democratic Party that were manipulating people in this country that are anti-war for the right reasons in order to get President Obama elected, or, well, worse, it could have been President Clinton. But so I've kind of moved past that, because I think speaking out about, we speak out about the war in Iraq at this point isn't very relevant. We kind of won the public debate on that, and a lot of activists and a lot of veterans who are with me, who are more on the conservative side of the spectrum than some of the hyper-liberals that were put forth as leaders in the anti-war movement, had kind of a disillusionment. And it was like, okay, so we won the debate on Iraq, and we got Obama? Seriously? So we're looking at some of the deeper issues behind that. And when you do issue advocacy and you completely turn around public opinion to your side of an issue, and the politics don't change, you have to question the value of what you were doing. And so I kind of went through that. I ended up deciding to run for Congress. I was endorsed by Ron Paul and ran in my home district, New Mexico, to represent Santa Fe, the northern third of the state. And I lost in the primary. We did an incredible job raising money and had a lot of support from people all over the country. But we got outflanked by, outflanked is probably a nice way of saying stabbed in the back by the leadership of the Republican Party in that race. But it got me into radio, and I did 6 months of radio before getting promoted to national television, and here I am.
It's a great story. What was it that clued RT into you? I mean, this is the network formerly known as Russia Today. That's what RT stands for.
Sure.
And recently, their profile, I think, has been on the rise. They have been, at least certainly within the Liberty Movement, I've been seeing a lot of great reporting out of RT. They're very critical of the U.S. Federal government and its activities. And they've had people like Scott Horton from Anti-War Radio on as guests in the past. And I guess you've been a guest in the past as well. Is that how did you get connected with them? How'd that happen?
Well, I think that's how they first came to hear about me, was when I was living in D.C., active with Iraq Veterans Against the War, that I was a guest a lot, and they had me on at least several times. During my congressional campaign, they had me on several times by Skype from New Mexico. So they had a sense of my message, and I guess since I had demonstrated that I could put together a show every day and talk for 2 hours, I had enough content that they decided to consider me for a TV show. And I got an email in January from the head of the D.C. Bureau here saying, would you be interested in producing and hosting a show on our network? And the thing about RT, they are government funded. Those aren't allegations. That's the fact. But they're making propaganda against the American government that happens to be the truth, and truth is the best propaganda. If you compare what their coverage is to the other major networks in America, that's the communist news. It's not RT. It's not Russia Today. And it's funny because I've been attacked now a couple of times just online with blog posts and things like that. KGB TV, of course they're subverting Kokesh. And it's like, well, who are you calling KGB TV? If you look at the government propaganda that we get from Fox and CNN and MSNBC, all the crap, unquestioning of what the government is doing. And communism, by the way, the
Hold that thought on the communism. We'll come back here with more of this discussion with Adam Kokesh from AdamVersusTheMan.com. His new show on RT airs at 7 o'clock Eastern, Monday through Friday. We'll come back talk about more about RT and who they are and what they're up to, because I think it's a very interesting aspect of all this. More on the way. This is Free Talk Live. We wouldn't be where we are without our amplifiers. Their $3 per month helps us spread Free Talk Live and gets them access to perks at amp.freetalklive.com. This is Free Talk Live. You can dial in toll-free and bring up anything you want at 800-259-9231. That's the SACL CAI toll-free line. You can join us on our website, freetalklive.com. We've got a lot of features there for you. Listening options are included. Broadband and dial-up versions of the show. You can listen around the clock 24/7 to the latest episode of Free Talk Live there. Plus, we've got 90-something great radio stations that carry our show from coast to coast. You can learn about those. Our satellite listening options, including XM satellite radio, as well as our free-to-air satellite channel, the webcam, and listen lines that allow you to call in from any phone that can dial long distance. Help you get Free Talk Live into your ears over at listen.freetalklive.com. And coming up this June 20th through the 26th, the biggest freedom-themed event of 2011. It's happening. Will you be there? We will. Free Talk Live is going to be broadcasting live from the Porcupine Freedom Festival. It is happening again, and if you haven't been before, make a point of coming this time. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger year after year. JJ is going to be putting together the musical roundup.
That's right.
There's going to be, is it like a battle of the bands, or is it just people playing music?
It's more casual. It's definitely not a battle.
Okay, that's good. It's going to be a lot of fun. There's everything from, adult activities like parties to kid stuff as well, family fun, agorism in action. Just so much going on over an entire week. There are tours of New Hampshire as well that you'll be able to get involved in. So it's a great excuse to come up, see New Hampshire, get familiar with the sort of the lay of the land, and also meet hundreds of like-minded, liberty-oriented people who are all together in the same place. Now, Adam Kokesh, I know that we've met, I think, briefly
I'm sold. I'll be there.
What's that? You're sold?
I'm sold. I'll be there.
Well, that's excellent news, because I know you've been to New Hampshire before. I know we've met briefly, at least at a past Liberty Forum. But have you been to PorcFest before?
I have yet to catch a pork fest. It'll be my first.
Wow.
Okay, excellent. It is definitely worth the trip, and it might make for an interesting, short clip for or package for your show. Because
yes, we'll be covering it. We'll definitely have some fun with it.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
There's all kinds of interesting characters up at the Porcupine Freedom Festival. Take your experience from the Liberty Forum and then make it another 10 times more loose and fun, and you've got the Pork Fest.
Yeah, I definitely plan on having a small crew there for my TV show as well, so should be interesting to catch. There's so much going on, though, that it's so difficult to have your camera in the right spot, because behind you is so much more is happening. So, but one thing, back to the RT thing, I watch a lot of RT, and I really enjoy a lot of their programming, but they definitely have this like anti-Fox News bent, and they definitely attack a lot of what Fox News says, and just sort of challenge that aspect of the media, and I really appreciate that for them doing that, because I personally don't like Fox News and their programming. What is it like working with the RT people? Do they sort of influence you at all? Do they kind of maybe guide you or tip you off on certain things?
Well, the majority of them are sort of the cream of the crop of young American professional journalists who don't want to work for those major American corporatized networks. And one of the reasons is, well, if I could get back, I guess, to the idea about communism, the slogan for communism is from each according to their ability to each according to their need. Well, in the United States, we have a progressive income tax and a massive welfare state, which seems to me like the embodiment of the communist slogan. Mm-hmm. And the way that we get our media here in the United States through corporatized outlets who depend on corporate revenue for their advertisers, and they're a product of American corporatism themselves, who enjoy the benefits of the American system of corporatism and the unique access that they are granted by the government to special privileged information that allows them to produce, maybe more immediate or engaging need-to-know television. They're not, when the White House is deciding who gets to sit in the press briefing room, they're not going to go with the people that are going to challenge the president, except in a way that will be the, controlled opposition. So really what all the American corporate networks are a pro-big government communist message. And from RT, you get, at least in my show, the free market constitutional voluntarist message. And that's the journalistic space that RT has created for us. The Russian government, if you view governments as competing protection rackets, they have an interest in keeping the other competing protection rackets relatively honest, and that's what we're doing there.
I think it's a very interesting aspect of all this because a lot of people in the liberty movement are going to look at this and they're going to say, well, this is bad. I mean, how could Adam take this deal from the Russian government? I mean, this is blood money that is flowing into to his show. And
yeah, well, it's actually less so than Napolitano and Stossel taking money from Fox.
Why do you say that?
Well, because they're getting money from an American major media corporation that exists because they're able to be the mouthpiece for the American government, or at least the loyal, controlled opposition. If anything, that's the blood money from our government.
Now, if for whatever reason you run into a situation where you have to criticize the Russian government, and I can't say that that's happened too often in the course of my career as doing a talk show that's centered here in the United States, but it just doesn't happen too often. I really don't like what happened there in Georgia a couple of years ago, but other than that, it just doesn't happen in the course of my day. But if you have come across a situation where you want to criticize the Russian government, how's that go for you?
Well, we talked about it briefly when we put together yesterday's show about the Internet, because there was a development in Russia. I forget the details, where they had the government there was making some move to exert greater control over the Internet, unsurprisingly. Not nearly as egregious as what's going on here with Durbin's proposal for an Internet sales tax, and some of the proposals for kill switch or for net neutrality, regulating Internet service providers. And I brought it up in the editorial meeting. I ended up not talking about it because it wasn't really relevant, but I kind of brought it up, made a point to bring it up in the editorial meeting just to make sure that the bureau chief who sits in on that wouldn't object, and he didn't. And I've made it clear that I'm going to take that full editorial control. They always have the right, they've reserved the right to not air any particular episode. Like I said, we're on live to tape or from 6 to 6:30, and the show airs at 7. So they have the opportunity to cut out something I've said, but they'll never be in a position to tell me that I can't say something. And like I said, if they do, the viewers will know about it right away. And if they decide to just not air a block of the show, it's going to be pretty obvious. And if anything, they know that they've put me in a position where if I said something that they didn't like and they cut a block from my show, I would go straight home and get on my computer and maybe just from my webcam tell people what happened and what it was that we were trying to say that got cut. And I have that free reign. I'm very confident in that. They might feel that they have the need to keep something from going on air if they think it. I mean, more likely it's because I'm going to get in trouble with the FCC or get them in trouble with the FCC than be in trouble with their editorial control. So far, it's been great. They've been very supportive of my creative vision for the show and my message being there unrestrained.
And as you said, it's written into your contract that you have full editorial control over your show. So I think it's just kind of ironic that, here you are doing this show about freedom and liberty on a network that is funded by the Russian government, but it is a much more principled network, a much more principled show than you're going to find on the other mainstream networks in America. I can understand the dilemma that you might face, at least to some extent, because on one hand, I'm sure you don't want to take money that has been stolen from other people, but yet on the other hand, It is such a great opportunity, and one that is certainly not going to be extended anywhere else. I mean, CNN and MSNBC aren't exactly beating down libertarians' doors or liberty-minded people's doors to get them to do television programming. So, same thing with Free Talk Live. I mean, if we want to get this show on radio stations and get the word out,
of all the pundits that they put on all of these talking head shows, Free Talk Live has never been asked. I mean, every talk show host, every radio talk show host in America gets put on these things.
No, but what I'm saying is, Mark, we have to bend to certain rules, the government, the FCC's rules, in order to do this radio show. And some people will critique us for that. Well, you guys aren't principled because you're on FCC licensed stations.
You don't drop the FBI bomb.
But on the other hand, we're getting the word out. More with Adam Kokesh in moments.
On Free Talk Live, we talk about investing in gold and silver as a hedge against inflation, investment, and barter currency. We've teamed up with Midas Resources to offer you some great rates on some hand-picked gold and silver pieces. U.S. Eagles, British Sovereigns, 20 francs, Lakota Nation silver rounds, Montana silver reserves, and Walking Liberty halves. Call 877-857-9938 or go to gold.freetalklive.com. The shipping is the same for 1 as it is for 20, so try to get as many as you can all at once. Gold.freetalklive.com.
This is Free Talk Live. You can dial in toll-free and take control of the airwaves. Bring up whatever's on your mind. If you've got a question for Adam Kokesh, he is with us here. 800-259-9231. That is the SACL CAI toll-free line. And you can join us on our website, freetalklive.com. You like the show, you want to help support Free Talk Live, you can do it by shopping with us. Go to shop.freetalklive.com. You'll find links there to Amazon, one for the U.S., the U.K., Canada, Germany. Click on the appropriate link for your country, and then you'll be brought to Amazon. You'll get your shopping done just as you normally would, experience the same huge selection and great prices and free Super Saver shipping that Amazon has, and feel good because when you're checking out, you won't see it anywhere. It won't be indicated, but you can know that if you've entered through our links at shop.freetalklive.com, a portion of the profits that Amazon makes will be sent to Free Talk Live. So it's a great way to get the stuff that you're looking for in life and also support Free Talk Live at the same time. Once again, that's shop.freetalklive.com. We've got Adam Kokesh with us. He is definitely one of the more prominent people in the liberty movement, especially now with the launch of his brand new television program. It's a half an hour long every single night during the week, so Monday through Friday on RT. And you might ask yourself, maybe you've never heard of RT. What is RT? How do you see RT? Well, RT, I've bragged about. I don't know. Bragged about them. Brag is not the right word. I guess lauded them, I suppose, on the air before because I'm impressed with what RT has done. They are really well distributed. In fact, internationally distributed. RT is available. We mentioned our free-to-air satellite channel. Our satellite channel covers all of North America, so Canada, Mexico, the U.S., and we're on the same satellite as RT. So the satellite Galaxy 19 has a bunch of different free television and free radio stations on there, and Free Talk Live is one of the programs on LRN.FM. And RT is not just in North America. It's also broadcast worldwide on something like 12 or 13 different satellites. It's on cable networks like Comcast and Time Warner in different places as well. And I imagine they're aggressively expanding as much as possible. I mean, I have to say, Adam, I'm really impressed with RT and what they've been able to do as far as getting their content out. And, of course, now your show's part of that. So you're all over the place, literally.
Yeah. Well, you know what? On our first episode, as long as we've been talking about some of the other corporatized news outlets here in the United States, I really tore into Beck and O'Reilly, Hannity, even Stewart, and Chris Matthews, Ed Schultz. But really, the lead guys at Fox kind of ripped them a new one. And the judge used to have me on his show on a regular basis. And since we announced the show with RT, at least, I can't even get one of his producers to call me back. I don't know if he has editorial control of the show or not, but I'd like to issue a challenge for him to prove it by having me on now, because he's had me on at least half a dozen times over the last since he's had the TV show. But I can't even get through to him or through to one of his producers at this point. So I hope it wouldn't be because Fox News is putting the screws on him in any way. But if he wants to prove that he has full editorial control, here's an opportunity for him.
It's one of these things. It's it's sort of like a puffer fish contest. Once somebody who's in a media, to interview somebody else in the media, often when you're in the media, is a much bigger deal. At the time, you had no, you weren't in any way, you weren't in the national media scene, even if you had a local talk show. It's just not, it's not the same thing. It's one of the same things that Free Talk Live deals with, as I was mentioning. There are a bevy of cable news talk networks out there. They could have us on to talk about the perspective of voluntarism or, whatever issue.
I would love to see you guys on Fox as commentators sometime, but I'm not holding my breath.
Right, and there's just the reason, it seems to me, that they're not going to do it isn't that they're stifling the message, because I think that they had you on, and obviously not trying to stifle your message. It's that once you're a national media outlet, then another national media outlet having you on is kind of like endorsing going and listening to that. So it's much more difficult to kind of get around that.
Well, I'm hoping to have the judge on after he has me on to give some commentary on some of the constitutional issues that we're going to be discussing as well. And it happens all the time. I mean, you look at how often Stewart has O'Reilly on. Maybe I have to publish a book first. Judge, I'll give you till my book comes out in a month or two here, and then we'll see.
So, guys, any other questions that you've got for Adam?
Well, we got tax season coming up here, Adam. Is there any special show with the tax day coming up?
It's a day I like to ignore, but I think we're going to have to cover it for the show. Yeah, we're going to be talking about tax resistance. We're going to be talking about the idea that you don't have any obligation to give anything to the government that you legitimately own, that you have as justly acquired property, because as a free individual, as a human being, you own yourself, and by virtue of owning yourself, you own the product of your labor. But really, I mean, you look at like the target audience for our show being the millennial generation. These are kids who are coming out of high school, and their first paycheck is missing a big chunk. And when the government tells them, hey, this is for essential services, this is for roads and schools, and they go, wait, really? And they look at the budget, and they see that that's an infinitesimally small part of it compared to the entitlement programs and the bailouts and the handouts for all the corporate banker pals of people in power, and for the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan and Libya and Pakistan and God knows how many other countries we have troops stationed.
Well, as you've said, people that are
point.
younger are going to figure this stuff out faster because they're online.
Oh, yeah.
I'm glad you brought that back up because it reminds me of a question I'd wanted to ask before. It never really strikes me that young people are too interested in news media content. How do you plan on bringing young people into finding your show in the first place? I mean, I don't think very many young people have free-to-air satellite setups that are going to receive RT, so they'll have to kind of stumble across it or get the word out online. There's going to be some sort of a marketing campaign here, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. We've invested in that. We've put a lot of effort towards our marketing efforts in making sure that we're reaching out to people online. Even the Nielsen ratings that come out for shows like this aren't as accurate metrics as YouTube views. So it really makes a big difference in terms of just how many YouTube views we can get in terms of determining our value for the network. But, the Nielsen ratings are good, but they kind of measure a different thing, and they're corrupt in and of themselves, and they're not nearly as accurate. But getting to that younger generation means making it relevant to them, and it means making sure that you're not talking about stuff that's just being talked about because people on Capitol Hill are talking about it. We could have gotten into the budget debate this week, but it's not really relevant, and it's the same old crap. They're going to have a back and forth, and everybody's going to have their posturing in Washington, and they're going to figure some way to keep screwing the rest of us over really, really hard. So giving people who are coming into politics really, in some ways, with a greater perspective that they've been given by the Internet, but also because of how horrible our education or misinformation or indoctrination public school system has become, they are missing some big chunks of understanding about the nature of government and how it works. And if you go and say, well, there's a budget debate and we have to raise the debt ceiling, that doesn't mean anything to them.
Yeah.
But if you explain to them the impact and you put it in terms that are easily understandable, that don't make assumptions that these are people who have been following the political debate for years, you can break it down in a way that connects to young people. But at the same time, the one thing that they don't get from any of the traditional discussions in mainstream media is empowerment. There's nobody that's forward-looking, that's saying, look, this is coming up. This is how you get involved. This is how you get engaged.
Yeah, there aren't very many shows that are going to be like yours, which are completely outside of the box, outside the left-right paradigm. And clearly, you mentioned, I think you said you're 29 years old, so you've got the look of a younger person as well, which again is very unheard of when it comes to a lot of these talking head shows.
Yeah, it matters. I mean, it's just some old guy with white hair is not relevant to a young person.
Clearly, you've got a lot to say, and what you say has a very voluntarist message to it. And I think that anything that we can do to get that out there is important, and that's one of the reasons why when I heard about this, I said, all right, I got to check the show out. I checked it out, and then I wanted to, and Nino, I guess one of your producers, she happened to get in touch with me before I was able to even reach out to you, so it was one of those synergistic things where I was kind of moving on the path toward reaching out to you guys, and then poof, there she was, talking about getting you on the show. And so here you are, and of course, as Mark pointed out, your show's on at the same time as ours is live. We start at 7 o'clock Eastern. Yours is also 7 o'clock Eastern. So I highly endorse the program. I think it's got a great start, and I hope that it takes off for you. And hopefully we can send at least some of our live listeners over to your YouTube channel after Free Talk Live is over at some point, and they can go and check it out. Well, and the best way to do that is to go to your website, adamversustheman.com. Click on episodes, correct?
Yeah, and it wasn't just a time slot that we ripped off from you. The idea of listener or audience interaction that you guys do so well, we're taking to heart as well, and I really want to encourage your listeners or anybody who wants to get involved in helping make my show something of value to the freedom movement as yours is. Go to the website, adamversustheman.com. Find me on Facebook.
I appreciate it, man. We're short on time, but I don't consider it a rip-off. You just got to borrow great ideas. I'm going to put you on hold, so more coming up here. Hour 2's next. Free Talk.
This program is brought to you by FreeKeene.com. FreeKeene.com features audio, video, and blogs chronicling the transition to a voluntary society. FreeKeene.com also has comments and discussion forums so you can be heard. FreeKeene.com.